Tech lines are a core component of Warships because just like every single other vehicular combat tiered free-to-play game, the big gameplay loop is grinding your way up that tech line, unlocking new vehicles with bigger, better guns, better reloads, better torpedoes, so forth and so on, and then of course going into battle and getting to play them. So that of course leads to one of the more common questions that I find myself answering on this channel being, well, what tech line should I grind up? And a little while ago, I released another top 5 video going over my top 5 must-grind tech lines, and this video is essentially an extension of that previous video, because there's so many good tech lines in this game, both for new players and older veteran players that maybe haven't touched these lines yet, that you can have more than just 5 that are quite excellent. So these 5 tech lines, they are excellent for newer players. They're great for veteran players. That's a good thing about Warships. You can go up a tech line as a newer player and then revisit it later on as a veteran player and improve your gameplay with the skills that you have developed over time. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. Before we do that though, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. All that jazz helps out with the YouTube side of things. All right. Into number 5, we have the Tier 10 American destroyer, the Gearing. Now, the Gearing, this is, like I just said, a ship line I had not grinded down yet. Even after playing this game for 7 friggin' years, I hadn't made my way to the Gearing line until a few weeks ago. And I gotta say, it was a very, very enjoyable experience. The great thing about the American tech tree is that for most of the lines, they're very easy to learn. They're kind of jack of all trades, masters of none when it comes to what their ships have. And the Gearing is an excellent example of that. It's got good guns, not great guns, good guns with a good reload, good concealment. Actually has one of the best concealments in the game if you do get the Gearing Legendary module, but we're talking about, just the base ship. It's got an excellent smoke screen and then good but not great torpedoes to where you can do a little bit of everything with the Gearing. If you want to be a gunboat, it can do that, especially from, like cap contesting ranges, like 7-ish kilometers in. The terrible American shell ballistics don't really start to impact your aim too much at that range, so there you go. And even if you are shooting at longer ranges, it will make you much better at predicting shells because you got to be good at predicting shells to get the Gearing shells to land at range. That's true, again, up and down the tech line as well. The torpedoes in the Gearing, the 16.5 kilometer torps, are quite comfortable to use. I'm able to get them to work, so if I'm able to get them to work, you can definitely get them to work because I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, an excellent destroyer player. And that's just kind of, again, the Gearing's thing. It's good at a little bit of everything, great at nothing in particular. Again, unless, like get the legendary mod or, go really deep into a, certain build trying to push one aspect of the Gearing, to the brink, right? It's great for cap contesting, and that's generally how I played the Gearing and the ships of the American, destroyer line, and they did great at it. Another good thing about doing that is that, well, that helps you win the game because so many times, as I'm sure many of you guys have seen, your destroyers either don't contest the caps, they die in the first few minutes doing something else, and if you are the destroyer and you are going for the caps and you are taking out the enemy destroyers, then yeah, that's going to definitely help you win a lot more so than just having destroyers to just go off and perish. Another great thing about the Gearing too is that it's an excellent team supportive destroyer because you get that American smoke screen with the long duration time where you can smoke up your cruisers or your battleships or your aircraft carriers if you're doing something really interesting as they push forward into the objective. And when you were talking about cruisers, it helped them stay concealed, where if you have something like a Worcester or a Colbert, they can sit there and farm to their heart's content while you spot. If you got a secondary battleship like a GK or a Schlieffen, you can smoke them up, they'll stay undetected while their secondaries put in the work, so forth and so on. That's just one way how it could be a supportive DD. So yes, if you are a new to destroyer player, I would definitely recommend the Gearing line. And if you are an older player that hasn't gotten to the Gearing line yet, most definitely so, I would definitely go up it. Alright, up next at number 4 is the Tier 10 Pan American light cruiser, the San Martin. The Pan American cruiser line was quite surprising. While at first there were some, disappointed players that, Wargaming didn't really follow the more historical Pan American cruiser line they could have gone with. At lower tier, they kind of hit the mark. But then when we get to upper tier, to higher tier, it's just, a bunch of variants of Worcester, right? But when the ships came out, they're actually really good light cruisers, and a bit of a surprise hit in the competitive scene as well. Because you see, when you get to the higher tier ships, like with the San Martin, man, the combat instructions they come with make this ship just an excellent little cockroach cruiser. By that, I mean the San Martin, and again the higher tier ships, they get improved heals, where you can't eat a large chunk of damage and just heal through it. But it has an incredibly long cooldown time, like we're talking about 3 minutes. However, with the combat instructions that you get with the Pan American cruisers, once you get those filled up, you can activate them, and it gives you an 80% buff to the cooldown time of your consumables, which means that 3-minute heal goes down to something like 30 seconds. Which then allows you to push through a lot of damage. And since you're a light cruiser with improved AP shells, you are going to be firing your guns quite a lot, getting that combat instruction bar filled quite quickly. Which means you can get that on standby, you can eat a lot of damage, pop your heal, that do its thing, pop your combat instructions, get that quick cooldown time on your heal, and your heal is already back up and ready to go. And of course, if you're in the real thick of it, you can get this filled up quite quickly and just survive through a lot of damage. Not to mention, too, the ship gets hydroacoustic search and radar, again, like most of the higher tier ones do get. So it's just a great little tier 10 ship when it comes to utility, and you'd be surprised how much damage you can put downrange with the improved AP shells of the San Martin. So a bit of a surprise hit here, in my opinion. Again, really good ship for competitive if you are looking to do that, like join up with a clan and such. And it's just really good in random battles as well, because again, it's a light cruiser. You're going to be getting those combat instructions filled quite quickly, and you can go to the off flank for your team and just be an annoyance on the enemy team's side. Again, you still get radar, hydro, all that good stuff as well. So again, bit of a surprise hit, and I was very surprised at that as well. But I got the San Martin. I've been loving it ever since. All right, going on down to number 3, we have the Tier 10 American battleship, the Montana. The Montana is, again, long Thingamy, one of the 2 oldest battleships in game, but despite all of this, despite this ship coming up on the ripe old age of 9 years old this September, which is quite old by video game years, right? She's still got it, fellas. And it's just a testament to how these older ships are designed that the Montana is still very viable. I mean, think about that. The Montana has 12 16-inch guns. 16-inch guns, by today's standards, are quite small at Tier 10. We have a whole lot of 457s now at Tier 10. We have a whole lot of, well, especially if you want to count like the super ships and stuff too, 20-inch guns as well at Tier 10, but she still has it. And the Montana line, again, very much like the Gearing line, it's a bunch of jack-of-all-trades, masters of none when it comes to battleships. And these are, and I've said this time and time again, some of the best battleships to learn how to battleship on. They're new player friendly. They can forgive a lot, especially when you get the improved heal, starting with the Colorado. The guns with the, again, admittedly terrible American ballistics will teach you how to get good at predictively aiming, which is something you have to be at least halfway decent at when it comes to battleships. The American battleships will teach you that. They'll also teach you that you can't sell broadside, because while they are pretty decently well armored, if you go around selling broadside in like the North Carolina, you're going to have a terrible time. So it teaches you how to battleship quite well. And again, you develop your skills and you come back to them after, maybe grinding up another battleship line or 2. And the Montana, the Tier 10, is a really tough ship. If you know how to angle, you know how to balance your damage con and your heal with that improved American battleship heal, you can sit on a flank and survive in a Montana for a very long time if you know how to keep your wits about you and such. Keep your eye open for, potential torpedoes coming in at you. Angle correctly, get your guns on target when you can, but be okay with, sitting with just 2 turrets pointing at the enemy team, and don't worry about getting all 4 on target. So as you develop those skills and such, you can come back to the Montana, and she'll be quite a beast. And she's really fun with her unique unique upgrade as well that gives you the very, very low burn and flooding time on a battleship, which is quite good. And with the CV rework being a thing, who knows? AA for surface ships might get a little bit of love here, but we'll see. So the Montana might regain. Regain. Not regain. Reclaim. There we go. That's the English I was looking for. Her title as an AA queen in the future. I don't know, but maybe we'll see with some of these changes coming down the pipeline. But again, a wonderful line for newer battleship players, or again, if you haven't gone down the American battleship line, the main line, the Montana line, I would highly encourage you to do so. Not that the other two suck, but if you're just looking for a good, solid, all-around battleship line, Montana is the answer for that. All right, going down to number 2, we have the Tier 10 French, very large or battle cruiser, depending upon who you ask, the Marseilles. Yeah, the Marseilles line is just great. It's good fun up and down it, in my opinion at least. Imagine essentially, if you will, a bunch of hyped up Dunkirks with engine boost, reload boosters, and just all the goodies that the French get. The French wonky armor scheme where you eat less damage than you really should in some situations. The hypervelocity AP guns that hit like an absolute truck if you're silly enough to go broadside to it. And of course, you have the reload booster as well, so if you can't pin something with your AP, swapping over that HE, set a couple of fires. The enemy ship puts those fires out, their damage con, you wait a couple seconds, pop that reload booster, and just absolutely get that ship frying down from stem to stern. The Marseilles is just good fun all the way around, and which is why I would highly encourage it. Also a ship that, if you're good at finding weaknesses in the enemy team's flanks, finding those holes and those gaps, and then getting to run down the side, and suddenly you have a ship with 9 330mm guns with a reload booster with French AP at your disposal, oh yeah, you're going to make someone's life absolutely miserable with the Marseilles. It is very much not what you would think it would be, because if you just sit there and look at it, you see all the turrets are in front of the superstructure. You'll think, oh, it's meant to bow tank or something like a tank destroyer from World of Tanks or from War Thunder. No, it's not. It's actually very fast, very agile when it's on the move. You don't want to sit there and tank because you will get absolutely murdered, because that's the other side of the French armor. While it might have this wonky armor layout where it eats far less damage than you think it should, it is highly susceptible to HE spam. So you don't want to sit there and be eating a bunch of HE shells to the face, because that's how you die very quickly in a Marseilles. Just stay on the move, slap W 4 times and forget about it. Unless you do some throttle juking with the engine boost, which she can absolutely do. And she gets an engine boost, if I forgot to mention that as well. So it's a fun line. Would I recommend going down it as your first line? Probably not, but I would most definitely get to it before you end your time here with What Are Warships. That is for sure. And now, going on our way down to our number 1 slot, we have the Tier 10 British battlecruiser, the St. Vincent. The British battlecruiser line, it is so much fun up and down it. I don't think there's actually a sore spot in the line for me, at least not when I went through it. And I did get a good amount of these ships in the early access event, but I actually played all of them because they're all quite fun. The Hawk, for example, is an amazing battle cruiser at its tier. It's so much fun, and I can say that about just about every single ship in the line. It's just so much goodness up and down the battlecruiser line. And then at the end of it all, you have the St. Vincent waiting for you with its absolute just absurd layout. So the St. Vincent, I believe it was the J class design, it's the J, the G, or the N class design. One of those three. Those were the ridiculous designs that were drawn up for the Royal Navy. But anyway, what it does have is 9 457mm guns, so you have 9 18-inch guns, not 460, so you can't overmatch 32mm of armor, but they still are quite big, and you can still overmatch 30mm of armor, which means a lot of the heavy cruisers don't like you because you don't really care about their armor, especially if it's something like, of course, a Salem or a Des Moines that loves to sit on their island and try to burn things down, and you just come around with your highly maneuverable battle cruiser with 18-inch guns, you just punch them in the face. pretty good for that. On top of that as well, she gets nuclear torpedoes, and by that I mean their alpha is in the 30,000 range, which is absolutely ridiculous. They're also bow-mounted torpedoes, so they're underwater. They get a little bit of wiggle room with the turning mechanics that Wargaming introduced some time ago, so that's pretty neat. And all this is bolted to a very maneuverable ship with an engine boost that can go well north of 40 knots, and you also get a super heal on top of that. Now, it's not quite like the Conqueror super heal where you reprint the entire ship's HP, but it is still better than like an improved heal like the American Battleship heal. You know, it can reprint a good chunk of your HP in one go. So because of all that, you can do some pretty goofy stuff with the St. Vincent and have some pretty goofy builds, like the build I'm running right now. I have and the name of the skill just escaped my noggin. I believe it's called Furious. It's where when you have an instance of fire or flooding on your ship, you get a 10% boost to your reload time for the first instance, and then a 5% boost after that. And then you, of course, take like Fearless Brawler and such on top of that, where when there's a ship within your standard detection range, you get another boost to your reload time. And then you run Adrenaline Rush on top of that. And then you take, of course, the reload module to where when you are, well, on fire, you get like three instances of fire going on your ship, and you know you're below like 50% HP, and there's an enemy ship within your detection range. You have something like a 15-second reload time on the St. Vincent, and the thing is, you can deal with that because you have the super heal. So, you know, when you're done enjoying your heavy cruiser reload time on your battleship, you slap T and, you know, you heal back up, put the fires out, and then just go on about your day because you don't care, since fire and flooding damage is 100% recoverable and you have the super heal to handle that. So it's such a dumb ship. And you don't have to build it like that, obviously. You can do like a standard tank build, and the ship does just fine like that. I ran it for a very long time with a standard tank build. But my, Furious build is just a nice fun thing to take out from time to time in random battles, because the ship is just so incredibly dumb and goofy and fun. So yes, the line up and down is fantastic. You have a real prize at the end with the St. Vincent, and yes, I would definitely encourage just to probably like within your first like 3-ish battleship lines to grind down. Again, definitely go down like the American battleship line first to get the basics and stuff, and maybe like the Japanese battleships or maybe the British battleships after that to get a taste of what you're going to get with the St. Vincent, and then go ahead and check out the St. Vincent line. So guys, those are my top 5 must grind lines. If you guys would have some additions to this list, add them in the comments down below. If you guys would have some substitutions for this list, add them down there as well, and tell me what are your top 5 must grind lines in the game. So if you guys enjoyed, have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful rest of your week. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.